Okay, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Mondays with Moshe. This is Moshe Norman here in Lakewood, New Jersey. It's just after 9 o'clock p.m. on November 18th, 2024. And it's nice to see everybody back tonight. We're going to be discussing something a little bit different than just the process of psychotherapy, but we may be surprised as to how a sort of old-fashioned reintroduced instrument sometimes we find this like these old instruments coming out of the woodworks that like were created years ago or decades ago, and somebody discovers it and polishes it, like an old
True.
dirty diamond or an old dirty piece of silver heirloom that you find in your attic. You polish it up, and wow, suddenly we have something so beautiful and useful and meaningful. So tonight we're going to talk about the Mari tool and its process in as an instrument and assessment in the process of therapy. And I would like to introduce our presenter tonight, Dr. Shelley Takei. Did I say that right? Takei?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, got
good. That's
it.
good.
Okay, so Shelley Takei has been in this field for, I don't know, like 60 years or
Oh,
something.
I got my doctorate in 1993.
Okay, so your doctorate is in transpersonal psychology, which is quite interesting, and
Yes.
women's studies from Pennsylvania. Is that right?
Yeah,
Very
we live in Raleigh, North Carolina right now,
now, but
and
okay, but
have since 2000.
okay. So if you can, I would love to just start off with you telling us a little bit about your background, how you came to this, and how you became interested in transpersonal psychology. Where did you attend university so many years ago? Tell us a little bit about your background and your history and how you
Okay.
came to the Mari.
Okay. I was a really, truly a dumb little student that didn't have a good academic background at all. But I think I always had kind of a philosophical bent.
Hmm.
And so I was in college. I was actually end of my sophomore year, and I met my college professor. We knew him as a friend. He was single too, and it was like having coffee with Takei. We thought it was a Dr. Takei. We thought it was a big deal to go down to his apartment and have coffee. But he liked me, and we got married. And I was still a student. I at that
And this is how
time,
many years ago?
it was we got married in 1966.
Okay.
We've been married for 57 years.
Wow. God bless you.
Um, thank you. Anyway, it's been a great ride, I'll tell you, because he had a doctorate in philosophy. And first, I stayed home. I did the female mother thing and had three wonderful children. Got the sex and the month, even the month that I wanted every single time. And but when my youngest child was 3 or 4, I started going to graduate school at night. I went to Indiana University, Pennsylvania, for two different master's degrees, school psychology and counseling, different, and completed those. But the whole time that, and I had a private practice, the whole time I kept thinking when I was getting educated, and I'd look at the steps in the diagnostic process, and I'd be like, but when do you talk about meaning? When do you talk about meaning? To me, counseling was always you get to the bottom line and of meaning for them, and it's I was a good helper for that because it was important to me.
Yes.
And um, so uh, we both retired, and in 1993, and moved to Virginia Beach. I did not know at the time when we just picked a place, let's get out of the snow of Pennsylvania. Picked Virginia Beach, and I didn't know that ARE, Association of Research and Enlightenment, was there. But then we were on faculty for about 12 years at Atlantic University, which is the educational arm of, are you familiar with ARE? Edgar Casey, the sleeping prophet. Blah, blah. Anyway, they had only a master's degree, not undergraduate or doctorate of in transpersonal. And even though we moved to Raleigh and all of our family, our three children and grandchildren live here now, um, we back in that day, you did the students submitted papers to you. It was done that way. So we were on both on faculty for about 12 years.
Nice. Okay, so
More?
that's nice. That's good. I want to take a second while people are
Sure.
signing in, just to remind everybody about our sponsors. Tonight, we are sponsored by OKclarity.com, which is a website that you can go on to that will feature you. Actually, create your own website on theirs if you are a practitioner in somewhere in the mental health or the health or the wellness field. You can sign up, and I encourage you to take a look at OKclarity.com to be featured on their website, and you can promote and feature everything about your practice, whether it's
Okay.
speaking engagements, whether it's your private practice, your groups that you do, support groups. Take a look at okclarity.com. It's definitely
Okay,
worth,
clarity.
yeah.
Okay.
And then we're also sponsored by officestreamline.com, which is a virtual secretary site where you can actually take some time to sign up with them and obtain your own virtual secretary, so that you can avoid having to return phone calls and do all that secretarial work.
Oh, that
Yeah,
would be
so
wonderful.
take a look at Office Streamline, and then you can do what you love doing best, which is the clinical work that you do, and have somebody else in the background, behind the scenes, taking care of the secretary work. So
Okay.
do take a look, everybody, at officestreamline.com and okclarity.com. Okay, Shelley. So you
Yes.
use you are a graduate. You have your degree in transpersonal psychology. Can you first tell us,
Yes.
what does
Yeah.
transpersonal psychology mean?
Okay. When I think of transpersonal, I think of directions. Like, first of all, it's cross-cultural. I could give my Mari assessment to anybody in the world. And there, because it's so based on universal principles that come straight out of the developmental cycle of every living thing. And I have an image to show you this. So it's very applicable. It And then symbols, which predate language. Language can become problematic. Symbols are more basic than language, and it's based on a client's choice of symbols. They don't know what they're picking. They honestly feel like getting a Mari reading or assessment is like magical because they
Mhm.
don't understand how I do it. So, but they're picking symbols, but symbols are related to the developmental stages of life.
Mm,
For example, on the east, just where you would think new beginnings start in the east, the sun rises. This the the great round follows the progression of our brain as it works. So at the east, one of the symbols there, that would be the stage of new beginnings. Every living thing goes through cycles that then there's always a new part to it, and then there's a flowering in the world, and then that closes and we're in the other than conscious for a while. I know that's probably a little abstract at this point, but every living thing responds from a DNA level because it's encoded in our DNA. 1,000 generations of people who came before us have made these associations to symbols. And one of the symbols would be an upward pointing triangle. If you think of the pyramids, it was not funereal. They were actually talking about the new beginning. That was representing the new beginning in the next life. So an upward pointing triangle is kind of a universal symbol everywhere for new beginnings. If a client picks that, then I know, okay, that's something going on with a new beginning. And then color, then the way the
Wait.
symbol
So,
cards are.
Shelley, can I
Okay,
just
sorry.
interject for a minute? This
Yes.
is too fast for me. This is all news for me.
Sorry.
And in fact, I would
Okay.
appreciate, for those of you who are
Thank you.
on, to, if you can turn on your videos, that would be great, so we can see you. But I think for this particular episode, I'm going to need a lot of audience participation, questions, comments, because
Uh-huh.
this is language
Right.
that I am not familiar with. It's concepts that are foreign to me, and so I need you guys to
Okay.
please chime in and raise your
Yes,
hand by
please.
using the raise hand button on the bottom of the screen in the React tab. And I'd like everybody to just let's make this a group conversation so that we can
Yes,
understand this.
please.
So when you talk about transpersonal, what I think you're saying is
Yes.
that there are
It's
certain ideas that transcend the ideas of things that are, I guess, specific. So culture, language, things that
yes.
become very specified are transcended by things such as colors and symbols, which are universal to everyone. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. I would say, I don't know if I'd use the word transcended by. I would say it's like we respond intuitively
Mhm.
to symbols and colors. And
And
we
those
we we don't know that consciously.
and those responses are never based on any kind of upbringing or uh,
Yes, they are.
culture.
They are.
They are
No, they
upbringing
are.
there.
Because if you do it with an adult and it's mainly for adults,
Mhm.
you have lived that life. And so because Mari reveals a picture of your psyche, of course it's going to have things that are rooted in the past. If you had tough time in the past, or if you're struggling with issues, now it will show all that.
Okay, but
It
it's
it
not based
also
on religion or culture or anything like that.
yeah
It's in
and well, religion and culture, cross culturally all have the same bottom lines
Mhm,
in terms of a search for meaning
mhm,
and imagining something greater than yourself.
mhm. Okay,
Okay.
okay. So, you told me before we opened up the show that
Hmm.
the Mari instrument is a Jungian instrument. Can you
Yes,
tell us a little bit about
yes,
Carl Jung, his beliefs,
yes.
let's say, versus
What
Freud, and what makes this a Jungian instrument? I want to do this even before we get into the Mari itself, and go through that more
That's good.
extensively. Okay.
Yes. They were good friends and they worked together and they both discovered the other than conscious at the same time. And then if you've seen the movie, there's a movie about this, but they had a big problem and they split with each other. And the thing that they disagreed with is okay, we have discovered this whole new part. It's like the iceberg, like a psyche is like the iceberg, and the 30% is what we live, it's our lived daily life. But then there's this whole 70% of things that they just discovered. Well, they didn't, they had just discovered DNA in 1952. So, but this is like DNA based. Um, but Jung, this is where they disagreed. Jung believed that when we're making attributions to what is this in the other than conscious, which is part of the whole psyche, what is that? We have to include a sense of meaning, and I mean with a capital M. And I'm sorry if I'm wrong. Y'all out there can bring up stuff to me because I'm not in the traditional world anymore. But Jung said, when we're describing the whole psyche of a person, we have to include a stage that in, that and that speaks to meaning. And actually, that stage is in the middle and informs every stage. So it's all the stages are based in meaning from the beginning.
So,
And
Michelle, when you talk
mhm,
about meaning, can you
yes,
describe or define
mhm,
what meaning means?
yes. So I would describe to you stage zero, which is in the middle. And when I giving feedback to people, I would say, "Oh God, that this is great. When I see a choice of stage zero, to me that means the person is rooted or has ground roots that go down to something deeper. And it can, depending on the color they put, I don't mean it's positive, but most of the time it is. Okay. So I would say to them, does it make sense to you, that you're rooted, you're trusting your own intuition, this comes from your deep psyche, and you can put any word there you want. You can say infinite intelligence, you can say God, soul, self, deepest mystical states, oneness. You can put any word there. They put their own word there. I would never put their word,
So
my
when you
word,
talk
on
about
them.
meaning, are you referring to
Hmm.
something to the tune of a higher power? Is that what you mean?
Yes. So,
Oh,
yes, something that people emit, two things. People have a sense that they need to create meaning. It's part of the humanness, according to Jung. And people also imagine something greater than themselves,
hmm,
whatever that. Can I just give you a little example?
sure.
I don't know if you've ever seen the monks of Drepung that come over to the United States and make great big mandalas, one grain of sand at a time. they've been in every city in the United States. You pay to have them come, and they're lovely, and they come, and they have the robes, and they spend days making a a very large, like 3 feet circular, 1 grain of colored sand at a time, mandalas. So a couple of years ago, because they do come where to my house where I live in the summer, and I did it with all 12 of them that were there. Every one of them picked the middle, which thank God you'd think they would. And when I described it to them, their answer for what the middle was, detachment, detachment, which is a Buddhist, a high Buddhist principle, being detached from the outcomes of the world, that kind of thing.
So when
Does that make
what do you
sense?
mean when you say they pick the
Yes.
middle? The,
They pick the stage in the middle, stage 0, which I will show in
okay,
when we get into
you'll
the
show us what that
images.
means. That you're talking about
Yes.
that's on the Mari.
Mhm. Yes.
Okay, got it.
It's the biggest part of the Mari. It informs every stage. Meaning informs every stage.
And what is where did Freud differ on that?
Uh, he would be above the horizon in the world. In the world, I would think. And when you talk about that which is below the horizon, the line that goes through the middle from beginnings over, that would be 9 o'clock on a clock over to 3 o'clock. You can, because our other than conscious is just as big or greater. In fact, they know we make decisions first on the other than conscious level. So it's very important. He would probably be more oriented in the world to problems and issues in the world. And again, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not traditional, but for example, if you said, yes, but I imagine something greater than me, or your idea of God or something, he would probably attribute it, especially Freudian psychology, attribute it to, wish fulfillment for the father or something like that. That would be, would be in the whole
Okay,
thing, but just
okay,
did that. Okay.
yeah, okay. So, um, tell me when we use the Mari instrument,
Mhm.
what are we using this to as an instrument for? What are we trying to identify or understand
Yes.
or learn about the person?
It it gives within 1 hour, I can do the whole thing in 1 hour. In fact, that's what I do when I'm up at my house in the summer. I call it readings on the Mari. And what it does is almost immediately, because you're choosing symbols that you like, Mikey, it would immediately identify your strengths and your issues, both.
Fascinating.
So it's immediate. It's like immediate counseling. It's visual. I see it, and then they start seeing it, but they see it in a context of the whole rest of their life or the process they're in.
Okay. Okay. So, do you want to do a demonstration or show us what you
Do,
mean when we
should
talk?
we? Can we?
You want me to pull up the? You want me to pull it up?
Yes, please. Yeah.
Sure. We're going to pull up uh, the visuals. And Shelley, tell us what we're looking
So
at here.
these are just 3 examples that you can go through that are for the first thing a person does before I even start doing the Mari instrument with them is I give them a white piece of paper with a pencil drawn circle and pastels, and the directions are surprise yourself. That's the directions. Surprise yourself. And people, think they're back to third grade and they think it's about art and oh my God, and they get nervous and things like that. But then I leave them alone for 10 to 15 minutes. I'm like, just do it. And they do it. What color are you going to pick first? What
So
what
wait,
are you
wait.
going
And
to
what are
put
they
on
doing?
there?
They're filling in the
They're
circle
create
or
they pastels, they can put anything they want in the circle, but I don't ever say you can't go outside the circle. Uh, the directions are surprise yourself.
Mhm,
But like I could read this to you right, I can read this right now.
mhm.
This Mari,
So
this
then they
can
sit down with their pastels and they start drawing.
yes, yep. And
And
I
this
leave so that they don't try to complain or anything, because that's probably the hardest thing for them to do is, oh my God, is this like art class in third grade?
okay. So I'm assuming this is the outcome of one of the drawing of somebody.
You can fast forward, you can show the others if
But
you want.
let's look at this one first and
Okay.
tell me what it is
Hmm.
that's here, that's on this page.
Okay. Well, first of all, black is predominant there, and black is a heavy color. So let me just say there are 45 colors, and among those 45 colors, there's jewel tones of all the colors that we know, red, blue, yellow, gray, they're all there. That's a jewel tone yellow in the middle there with the star. So, but every color has a white is added and it's more pastel, which kind of, diminishes the qualities a little bit, softens it, pacifies it. And every color also has a darker hue, the way we're interpreting this. So, the, what I would see is it's like they have a wonderful shiny sense of their own self, and I want to say their intelligence and their knowing, because yellow is associated with the sun. It Okay, like this goes back historically. The yellow is associated with the father world. This when If you see the picture, the sun would be high noon, it would be above the horizon, high noon. Yellow is associated with knowledge, the electricity, the mind, thinking, abstract thinking, cognition. So the, but it's bound. On this mandala, it's bound by black. So for some reason, it's still contained and it wants to get out. I think that's like a kind of a yellow green down at the bottom. There's a sense of healing down at the bottom. Anytime I talk about the bottom and the top, I'm imagining a line can go right uh, through the middle of the circle,
Mhm.
and so and then I think that's a pink. The pink can, if that's a magenta pink, it's kind of hard to tell with on this screen, but a magenta pink would be strong female stuff, or some anxious it's body based anxiousness, maybe um something associated with anxiety or irritation, but also the feminine. But it's bound. It's sitting in a pool of blue, which blue is associated with the sky, with water, and intuition. So there's a lot of intuition, and I want to say that's kind of a yellow green at the bottom. There's healing coming up to help get rid of that black. Usually, black is interpreted as negating or heaviness.
Okay, so
That's not me. That's universal color association.
let me just recap
Hmm.
uh,
Yes.
what I heard, and I need help from you participants out there who
Hmm.
can do this better than I. But I think I'm hearing you say you're looking at the colors and at the placement of
Hmm.
the colors, if I'm not
Yes.
mistaken.
You'll understand better when we. Yeah.
The yellow
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
represents
Thinking, thinking, thinking. Abstract cognition, brain stuff, and
that's
it's
the yellow.
ready to. Yeah. Yeah. Yellow
Okay,
is. Yeah.
and it being contained by a black circle or by black
Yes, it
says
is.
it tells
It's
us
still
that what?
contained. Why did they draw a black circle?
Yeah. So
That this,
what does that symbolize?
yeah, that's how that's. I think like inside themselves, they imagine if they could just break out of it, but something is restricting them,
So
and that's something you could talk about.
black
Black
black is sort of
heaviness,
heaviness,
heaviness, hmm
constriction,
negation. Hmm.
negation, darkness, or
Yes,
we would call it darkness, sort of like darkness.
blackness is, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
and then the pink you said
It
it's being
can be
surrounded by
associated.
blue, but it's also surrounded by black, right?
Yes. Well, yeah, I'm not quite sure of the pinks because that's a body color and you can go several ways with that. But even that is contained within the black. And this is most of it's happening in as they perceive them in themselves in the world, as opposed to their own personal unconscious.
Okay. So and what about the symbol itself? I mean, the yellow looks sort of like a
Mhm.
star.
Star, it does.
So
Hmm.
what does that mean?
Well, okay. For example, it can it would help me to, and if you could see the symbols, that are on Mari. And for example,
Do we have that here?
those, okay, not yet. Go a little further. Okay,
This one?
for star, do you see the star at the top? It's
Yes.
at not the topmost one, but over to the next one.
This one.
That is in the human psyche. It's equated to Da Vinci's Vitruvian Man in the Star, which is here I am world. That particular stage is the stage of self and self autonomy. If you back up one, the one at the one with the cross, that uh squaring the circle, and the one with the cross, that would be like the Knights Templar, when the masculine, that's balance, everything comes together. But then you go beyond that and you create your own, you become the star. So people who pick a star, usually with a good color, not a, you can pick the star and have a heavy color, you can, but um their yellow star would be, uh, I know I can be a star. I know I can. And then the two below it are just other cross-cultural accepted variations of the star. For example, the bottom one there is just a little bit softened and feminized. It's a five-pointed flower. And in the middle looks a little bit like uh associated with things that were negative, but actually that predates Germany, and it was a symbol used for thousands of years as the self in motion, the self in motion
Hmm. It
with
does. It
good
looks like
self,
does look
depending on the color.
like a turning fan almost.
Yeah. Hmm.
It looks like a motion. Okay. So you're getting clues about the person's self. And then you said the blue represents the sky and intuition and the sea, right? And that what does that tell you about the person, that they believe or they are actually intuitive? Are we still there?
Did I do that? Did I do something?
No, my internet just went down for a minute. Sorry about that. Let me get us
No.
back to where we
Just
were.
glad I didn't do it.
Not this time. We had that before. Let's get back to where we were. I don't know why my
Mhm.
internet crashed, but that was interesting.
Okay. Well, okay.
So, so,
So,
um,
well, I'm just showing you examples of drawn mandalas and what they represent, just looking at it. For example, if somebody did, I said, fill in, in the circle, however you want. And if they had strong, jagged black lines and red lines going through, it's not comfortable. It's especially if it was dark red, it's not a comfortable mandala even to look at. And you'd look at it and go, oh my God, okay, this is going to be interesting, Mari. Does that make sense? When people have other colors, some nice jewel tone colors,
mhm.
like some of the other ones,
So,
if you were to
so
scroll.
when you're learning this, are you
Hmm.
learning the representation of all the colors and symbols?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
And yes, we have an extensive manual that explains every bit of it because, as I said to you at the beginning, the hardest part is there's a lot of learning up front, but once you get it, then you can interpret mandalas and you start thinking in that way, like where am I in the developmental stage now? And
Well,
it
when you talk about developmental stage,
yeah, can you
which
go back to can you go back, if you
which one?
go
Which
down
one?
to
Down to the
uh
symbol?
be okay. Okay,
Cycle of
so
life or the cycle of self?
cycle of, let's start there. Cycle of life. Mari reprises the cycle of life, the cycle of every living thing. And we're using a tree here as an example. So up at the top there, where it says independence, that would be the fully formed tree. But following down from stage 7 all the way down to stage 1, it starts out as an acorn. Every idea that we're going to manifest ultimately in the world started at as an idea, and it grows on an other than conscious level. And you can see over at stage 4, where I'm talking about new beginnings, there's the little sapling. It's just like our intuition and our thought process. This is like a visual representation of body mind connection, as easy as you can get. The little seed is growing and growing under the ground. We don't see it. We're not maybe not aware of that process going on, but you might wake up someday and go, I've got it, or the little sapling breaks through and now you understand. That's why every stage has three different symbols to represent each, like every stage, the big target, the begin. There's all different ways. An upward pointing triangle, for example, would be I am so ready to go. But then there's, one that looks like a little embryo, which is okay. I'm pregnant. I know I'm pregnant, but I'm not ready to give birth yet. There's variations in each of the three symbols. If you want to, if you go through the next couple of slides, it'll show you. Okay, this is now. So now it's this is the cycle of life, and there's where the symbols are. If you go to the next one, it'll show you the symbols at each page. That those are the symbols. And honestly, the only way you could trick Mari is if you knew where the symbols went. So I'm showing you so you can see, but we don't let the symbols get out there. And when we put the person's cards on a rather large board that allows for those cards to fit in each stage, we would never show the symbols. We just have the words. And I think there's stage 0 in the middle that I was talking about. Through time, the open circle has been associated with divinity. We know it, but we don't know it. So if you choose that, you're saying something about your own self and where you are. Lots of people never pick it.
So just one second. So you
Yes.
actually, as part of the assessment, you actually show them the symbols and they choose one?
No, they see the symbols. I think you can go a little further, please. Okay.
Excellent.
So
More.
this is just okay. Yeah, okay. All the symbols are laid out in random order. They don't know what they're picking. I just say, allow yourself to be drawn to all these symbols and allow yourself to be drawn to 6 symbols that you like or you're most attracted to. And they
Mm,
just pick them. It's intuitive. But what's intuition is to me, it's your wisest part of yourself.
mhm. And so
So, okay,
now, so
so
now if they
then
if
they,
they choose some of these symbols,
yes,
that's giving you
that,
this information, meaning
yes, absolutely, absolutely.
if they choose I don't know this one at number 3 on top,
Yes.
right?
Okay.
So that would tell us that
Energy.
somewhere in in the cycle of
Go,
life, that would
go
be
the other,
energy path.
and you need energy right before a new beginning.
Right before a new beginning.
Yeah.
So it's like
Yeah.
the
So,
burst of energy,
huh? And those
like
are
that
three
burst of energy.
variations.
They call that the custo
Yeah.
diffuso.
Okay.
Okay,
So, okay.
okay,
And then they, so when they pick the 6 symbols they like, and this is the directions. Now pick one symbol you don't like. You could think a little bit like it's shadow in the Jungian sense. I don't get into that too much. But one symbol that they don't like is also very telling because it's like pointing out what is it? What is it that I don't like, want to happen in my life? You can scroll more. Um, then they and see the color cards are the same. That okay, if you stop there, color card, the color. So after they pick 6 they like, one they don't like, and then I say, think of an issue in your life that you would like your own help or guidance on, and but don't tell me what it is. They don't even have to tell me what their issue is. That's how good Mari is, because I can tell them what their guidance is for their own issue. But then, then I lay down the 6 cards for them, just the 6. I take the other ones away, except for their dislike and their guidance cards. And I say, now, color shows through the symbol, and that will give other dimensions of thinking, feeling, sensing. And again, there's attribution to every color. There's some sparkle cards in there, and those are associated with transpersonal, with spirituality, intuition, idealism, creativity, that kind of thing.
well,
It's too abstract. Okay, you can go. You go.
should we
Okay.
go further?
And then this is the board that so now we have a board. This other side of the board just has words that we don't want them to see the symbols that they've already picked. And then I start laying out their symbols of where they are. And when I do that, it gives them a picture of their psyche relative to where they are. Are they down at number 12? Did they just complete? Did something just come full circle for them? Did they just graduate from college? Did their last child leave the house? Did you just retire? Did you get a divorce? Whatever. Chances are you're going to pick something at completion. And when you're ready, because we do this cycle again and again, you will then move to one and you'll be the acorn again. You'll be, like one person starting again and, exploring all the possibilities. Some will energize you. And when you're ready, you probably move to a new beginning. Then
Mhm.
you're going to be in the world. That above the horizon is in the world.
Meaning that's by 9 o'clock.
I'm sorry. I'm
That's
sorry.
9 o'clock or
Well,
10 o'clock.
you're moving. First of all, focus. You have to figure out focus. Really, focus in on what do I have to do to get this new thing going. And a lot of times we meet with struggle. Struggle's an archetype. Uh, if you get into archetypes, every human being has a period where they're struggling. That's why the idea of the hero slaying the dragon is a universal archetype because at stage 6 is it used to Joan Kellogg, who developed this, used to call struggle. She called it dragon fight. It's a universal thing that every person goes through before they uh, face their dragon and deal with it, and then they can move to balance in the world, be fully functioning in the world. But then you add your own self into it. Like, yeah, but how do I feel? I disagreed with this or that. Then you're going to move to stage 8, which is identity. That's the star, things like that. Stage 9, you're going to manifest it in the world someplace. It,
So help me understand, Shelley.
yes,
What is
yes,
what is the value of doing using this instrument as an assessment? What are
because you'll
we?
see it immediate. The therapist will see it immediately.
The therapist will see.
If say they have 2 or 3 at struggle,
Mhm,
or they pick disintegration, everything's falling apart for me.
mhm, mhm.
What is falling apart? What's the color you have there? That kind of thing.
And then how can they
It's
help?
all
How can we help the client or the patient with?
okay. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Well, when they pick the dislike, usually most people pick stage 11, which is the dislike. Things have fallen apart and they pick a color to go with it. How do you feel now that things fell apart? I put black there. I put dark red. It's bringing up old feelings, or maybe you just have like a kind of neutral color. But when they pick the dislike color, they have to pick another color, which is okay, just pick one more color that somehow makes the color and symbol at stage 11, if they pick that, better, better. And so that's showing, is there inner resilience? Do they have the internal resources to deal with it?
Mm.
Because chances are they're going to pick green, which is healing. Okay. This is good. Or you might pick another heavy dark color, which is, I have no idea how to deal with this. But it's going to tell you how to proceed.
Does anybody
I
at
feel
this
like,
point? Does anyone have
yeah,
any
anybody with
questions?
questions,
Questions? Is this making sense to you? Are you familiar with this? Do you have any questions or observations so far? If you
uh,
do, please raise your hand or unmute.
okay, so this is an example, just a one symbol at stage, and that's like a variation of the star. Here I am, world, good self-esteem, ability to face the world, and they've picked it with green. So that person is either a healer in the world in some sense, or they feel fully healed, pretty much healed.
Mhm.
That's a good pair
And
there.
what is and it's by identity. So what does that mean?
That's here I
What
am world.
stage?
What does Da Vinci's Vitruvian Man and the Star represent to you? That's identity. That's human identity. I can face the world.
So
I'm sorry. This is
here
my
you'll have
language. I'm sorry.
here you'll have an indication from an
Yes.
individual that they feel
Yes.
strong, they feel ready,
Yes.
they feel confident.
Healed. Yes.
And
Because
and
if they didn't feel that inside, they wouldn't have picked it. They have lots of other choices.
Mhm,
What makes us gravitate toward one symbol as opposed to another, one color as opposed to another? It's all DNA based, intuitive, totally intuitive. They don't understand, they don't know what they're
And so
doing.
are you using this instrument
Hmm.
as
Hmm.
you move along in the therapy process? Like after a few
Yeah.
sessions, we'll try it again and
Well,
see where they're at now.
yes, yes. You can absolutely do that. I no longer have a private practice. I do one session Mari's, and I can sometimes often resolve the whole thing. They resolve it by me saying, okay, let's pick another color that could go here, especially if it's something heavy. And it's surprising when the people introduce the new color, they start crying or something. They don't know why they're crying, but they start crying
Mm.
because
You
it's,
know, so let's say for
mhm,
childhood trauma, is this something that can
yes,
target childhood trauma and resolve
yes,
it
yes,
without words and
yes,
without talk and all
yes,
that?
yes.
Fascinating.
On a symbolic level. It's like, here's us in counseling, and Maury's like over here doing the same thing in a kinder, gentler way because they don't know what you're doing, but
Mhm.
also healing can happen over here on the symbolic level through colors and symbols.
Mhm. I gotta see
That's
this.
it's true.
I would love to see like a
I
session
would
of Mari.
love to show you.
You don't have any videos, do you, of sessions? You
Oh,
never.
tons,
Oh, you
tons
do.
of videos. Yes.
So how can we see those?
Some of them are on the website, but it's an hour long, so you have to, you
Okay,
watch the whole
I'm
process.
gonna
But
take I'll take up the challenge, and I would love to see how this
okay.
works and what it looks like.
Yes.
Elliot, did you have a question or comment?
Well, it seems to me that you're
Mm.
working with the unconscious. You're not
Yes.
you don't necessarily address people directly. Maybe with what are you thinking?
Right.
What did you say
That's
to your
right.
husband? You're not going there. You're
That's
just
right. That's right.
you're going underneath somehow.
Yes. Thank
And
you. You're absolutely right.
Well,
uh
Yeah, Shelley, in the beginning, she introduced it as symbols predate words and ideas. I'm assuming we're already thinking in symbols or experiencing symbols and colors from pretty much birth.
On an other than conscious level. You know it, but you don't know it. It's like instincts to animals. How does a little bird know how to make a little net? How do they know? It's
Hmm.
passed down through the DNA. Similarly, 1,000 generations of humans have made similar associations to color and symbol.
now,
So that this right here,
Right,
usually
go ahead, Elliot.
when clients come to me, in their
yes.
mind, they think they have an issue. They think they have a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So my question
Mm-hmm.
is, when somebody seeks you out, um,
Mm-hmm.
they may not. I'm assuming they may not say, "Oh, my unconscious has to work on things." I mean, you know
They
that,
don't think that way.
but
Right.
they're not thinking that way. So my question is, what kind of people will come to you, and how do they know that you're the one they want to speak to? Does that make
Um, Yeah, well, yeah, some people are aware what transpersonal is or what Jungian thought is, how it's different, but or they're just drawn like, oh my God, this is so interesting. Is this like magic? How do you know that? That kind of thing. It, but
but what
when you're
problems do
trained on
people
Mari,
come? So
I'm sorry,
what problems do people come to you with?
every problem, every problem, every problem. Like
Okay,
right there on the one that's showing on the screen, that person, has chosen that's a I think that's a dislike card. The like cards are placed horizontally. The dislike card is horizontal. So they they're absolutely struggling with something, but they have it with a green there. It's a light green. They're trying to heal it, and what makes it better? That's it's hard to tell the colors, but I'm going to say that's maybe
Pink,
is
pink when you tell me.
it's not easy to heal. It's a little bit of healing going on, but those two colors are body colors that represent either anxiousness or irritation. And so I would give them that feedback. I'd say, does it make sense that you're struggling with some kind of an issue? And they usually say, yeah, because I talk in terms of question, does it make sense? And so for that one, they've picked another color. And I know it's not going to be easy for them to heal that stroke. They're saying, oh, because it's still so irritating to me, or it makes me so anxious. Those two body colors.
mm.
So
And you can see they're drawn. Go ahead.
you're talking about the two vertical cards. Those are the
That
cards.
one, yes.
Mhm.
The dislike is placed vertically, yes.
Mhm.
And then the two at the bottom are guidance cards. They're placed at an angle. Everything else is the first choice. And you can see like they have a little bit of a new beginning, but it's real hesitant and tentative. But they have orange behind it. Orange, combination of the red of passion, energy, and anger. Yellow of thinking, assertiveness. Orange is I'm ready. I'm ready to do something, and they're ready. They just need more help getting ready.
So they're really doing the
Did I
work by.
answer your question, paradox, doc?
I see that you're very adept in this, and you've gone into this. I'm a newbie here, right? So I'm just
Yeah, I know.
I'm
It's
trying
hard.
to make sense of it. So,
I know.
I understand there is an unconscious in people, and my sense is that the better we can access the unconscious, the quicker the healing can happen.
Absolutely. Look how much is happening in that person's other than conscious. That's where their guidance answers were.
Right.
So they've completed something, they're starting again, they're exploring all the possibilities, they've got energy, and
Mhm.
they've already made even if it's just in their mind, if they didn't have it in their head, they wouldn't have picked it. So they're imagining a new beginning with some
Mhm.
energy, but
Mhm.
there's still a struggle in the world, even though it looks like they have good self-esteem, they're trusting their intuition with that flower,
Mhm.
and that's their mandala in the beginning. So the colors that they use on the mandala, which is the first thing they do, it usually show up again in the Mari. It's Mari is like an expanded understanding of how do you interpret a drawn mandala, which
Mhm.
is art therapy.
Now, what's the completion? Do we ask what they completed? I mean, what do you
It's
know?
I would say to them, does it make sense that there's just been a sense of completion? Something's cut, finished, and when people pick that, then they like I gave you those examples. I just graduated, my little youngest, I just got a divorce, whatever. They know what it is. I
Uh-huh,
pose it in terms of questions, and then they usually say, "Oh, that's interesting. My dad just died," or
uh-huh. Mhm.
but they have it with a nice. It looks like a nice color. I don't know. It's not red. Maybe it's red. A lot
Mhm.
of energy around that completion. It's hard. I'm sorry. It's hard to tell on the screen, the colors.
Mhm.
Well, I'm wondering, is the work that the client or the patient does just by choosing what it is that they really want, and
Yes.
that's what's healing them?
Why would they pick it? Well, it depends on what they pick. Some people could pick all the colors are heavy and dark, and you look at it and go, oh, or they're picking struggle and disintegration. And yeah, it's what the only reason you pick it is because it's in your mind. It's not like it just comes in arbitrarily. I'm going to pick this. You think you are, but there's a reason why you're doing it.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay. And does anybody else have any questions or comments on this?
I don't mean to change the topic,
Go ahead.
but how did you get started with this, and what was your path in coming to the
Yeah.
Mari?
I already had a PhD in transpersonal psychology, which is Jungian, it's depth psychology, and I'm not a traditional thinking girl. So when I saw this the first time, even though I have made major changes on this instrument, there was error when it came to me in 2005, but I just instantly fell in love with it. Instantly.
Mhm.
Uh, I don't know. I was I guess Jungian perspective and the idea I felt comfortable with symbols. It
Right.
didn't seem
So, all right,
strange to me.
So you have a background in Jungianism, right? And Jung,
As part of
right?
Jung started transpersonal. He's the father of transpersonal
Uh-huh.
depth
Uh,
psychology. And I want to not forget to say that this is approved for CEUs by NBCC for counselors and by APA for therapists, like clinical psychologists, etc. You can get the CEUs when you get trained on it. It's about 20 hours of training. Most of it's online these days.
Do you train? Are you doing trainings? Do you train?
I used to do live trainings all the time, but and I we have about 30 teachers all over the world in Russia, Germany, Brazil, South Africa, Japan, Canada. They're all teachers. They teach where they are. And uh I think I'm
Wow.
not answering your question.
Yeah, no, I'd love to have an excuse to go
And
to
about a
Japan.
thousand practitioners, more than a thousand
Mm,
practitioners,
okay.
and a lot of them I have taught, but other it's done online these days and things like that. So
Mhm.
this is just going to explain a little bit about the understanding of the whole conscious and other than conscious. I always use the analogy of an iceberg. They say, yeah, like this is straight out of Psych 101. The psyche is 30, we're in the top 30%, which is above the water, what we see. But then there's that 70%, which is really is more, it feeds the conscious. And research shows we know with a capital K first on the other than conscious level.
Mhm.
And it's just too bad that psychology doesn't focus much on intuition, because intuition is, to me, that's where our wisdom lies, in our intuition,
Mhm.
Hmm.
unless you're paranoid or something.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I think one of the things I'm trying to figure out to understand in
Mhm.
this is how is it that I guess I get the concept of the unconscious or other than conscious,
Mhm.
and how we all live in that way, and how most of our knowledge and most of our personality and most of our self and whatever
Mhm.
manifests is coming from there.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
how is it that choosing a different card or a different symbol actually shifts those parts of us that have become so embedded in our negative patterns and our negative beliefs and our negative
Especially, yes, especially when the first thing you're going to try to change, ask them to change if they want to, is color. So, I might say, if they say they put it with a heavy dark color and they've talked and I have a little bit of handle on their issue, I might say, is there another color that you could also now have, that with us having talked, put in there? And you cannot just take away the color they picked first. You can't. That would be, hurting the psyche. The psyche picked it first. So you have them introduce the new color to the extent that they feel comfortable underneath the symbol, but on top, in like a sandwich, the sandwich in the middle. And I just say, push in this new color to the extent that you feel comfortable.
mm.
That's allowing the psyche to have control
So
over it.
it's
But you also
gradual.
see
They're
the
not forcing
readiness for,
they're not
right.
forcing too much upon
Mm-hmm.
themselves that they're going to reject.
And a lot of times people will, not just put it all the way in. They'll say, I like this new color. It makes me feel differently, but I don't want to forget how I felt before. I think I still need a little bit of that anger, or that little bit of, they'll literally show it because by pushing it in,
Mhm.
the the new color. You can use Mari as a therapeutic tool.
Hmm. I see what you're saying. Not just as an instrument, as an assessment.
What
Right.
can you tell me about this Mari, the one that's on the
This
screen?
Mari,
Yeah.
well, first of all, it's balanced. It's balanced between there's balance in it. Would be stage 7. It would be up at the top with balance. And you see down below is all blue, the blue intuition, and I think that's yellow at the top. There's a lot of into a balance between cognition and intuition. There's 4 interlacing circles in the middle that all speak to balance. So this one is it's a very nice mandala. I mean, some of them are just scary and just scary, scary, scary.
Mhm.
It
Shelley, I
tells a
have an
lot more.
interesting question for you.
Yes, please.
Have you seen people diagnosed with autism to experience significant
Um,
shifts as a result of this work?
I'm sorry. A lot, I don't, a lot of the people that I have do in the summer, because I do it every day with people that just come. offer readings. And so that's something we should do, like just do a study with people with autism and things like that.
So you
I'd
haven't.
like to think that we go
Yeah.
below the surface of what might show. It depends on which things are going on with autism. I think it would probably show up more at the top, maybe with the
So
struggle
does
or
that mean that
something.
you don't typically use this with people with autism, or you don't haven't studied
I'm
it?
I don't have a private practice anymore.
Mhm.
But everybody that I've taught has pretty much has a private practice.
And did they say anything? I mean, is there
Not,
information?
no, I'm sorry. That would be interesting.
Yes,
But
because I feel like
mhm,
their worlds seem so different than the neurotypical world. And
that would be
using
interesting.
language um, to work therapeutically with people with autism sometimes seems futile. And I'm wondering if we can
Oh, yeah, yeah. If you want to send me a couple drawn mandalas of people with autism, I would give it my shot. Without, or I don't know if you know anybody that does Mari. We have Mari people all over, trained people all over. But apparently nobody knows much about it. Mhm.
guilty as charged.
And we want to go down to the next one. I think I should have put down, made a tough, these are all very nice. But if you're looking, so what this is a heavy focus toward the new beginning and kind of breaking out, trying to break through out into a new beginning that's where it's placed. It's facing stage one. We always look for that, anything that you put at stage one. And why do you pick stage one? You don't know what you're picking, but you can, when you give feedback, does it make sense to there's some kind of new beginning happening for you? And people will be like, oh my God, yeah. And they have a lot of nice colors there. It's not a bad mandala at all, but their focus is toward beginning again, getting going through, focusing in on what they need to know, that kind of
Now,
thing.
can I look at if my child is sitting on the floor and coloring with markers or crayons, do the colors that he chooses have these very same?
I think you have to live a while, maybe young teen. If you do it with children, ask them what they meant when they picked that color. That's what we do, but we mostly don't do it with children. You
Mhm,
need to have some life experience to get, to have that stuff manifest in your
mhm,
understanding.
mhm. I see.
Um, and like a child's favorite color could be black for a while, and I wouldn't make any attribution to that at all.
Mhm,
They're
mhm.
children.
I mean, but
Now
children.
on that previous picture, if you can put it back up, I see that the person went outside of the circle. I think the other,
That yes.
yeah. So
Okay. Yeah,
what does that
that I
indicate?
like it. When people go outside the circle, I usually think of that, think like they think. My um energy or psyche or what I know extends beyond this skin encapsulated ego.
Right. So what would that indicate to you? The fact that they drew
That
beyond.
they're thinking on a larger level. There's a lot of yellow there. I think they're have questions and things like that. They're trying to break through what looks like a spider web
Mhm,
toward a new beginning.
mhm,
Wow. Okay. Does anybody else have? Go ahead. Were you going to say something, Shelley?
I was going to say, if you ever wanted me to come back, we could, have the little Mari test. I have easy, if you go to maricreativeresources.com or mariresources.com, there's a little test that you can just do. It's very simplistic, but we could start there. Like we have a mini version. Like when we present at conferences, people all they want to do it. They want to do it. And we can't do the whole thing. It takes too long. So we just take one symbol from each stage and so they're only working with 13 symbols and like 15 colors, one third of the deck. And we do like little 10-minute stuff. I can do it in 10 minutes. If you wanted to, we could, have something like that where people could do their own.
Wow.
And yeah, maybe we should have started there.
Okay. Something to think about. Anybody else? with question or comments? Guys get curious.
How about
I
how
mean,
about you, Malka? You have a question?
I'm good. I'm just curious how you combine it with talk and
Because like I do have training as a counselor, and most everybody that takes it, you have to have at least a master's degree, to be a teacher. So
Mhm.
they're already there, they're familiar with it. And but the talk is also, it's kinder, I think. It doesn't use labels. It talks it with question. It does it make sense to you? And if it does, people will be like, oh God, yes. Or I don't quite understand. Then I'll talk a little bit more by looking, at some of the things they've picked and filling in that way.
is there like a limit of sessions that
A
you
limit of sessions?
is there a
A limit
limit of sessions? Like, well, how does it work? You have a certain amount of sessions after
in,
one MARI test or
mm, well, see, I don't do long-term counseling at
I'm
all.
saying the people
I
that
do,
do it.
yes, they use it because you can put it in you can get reimbursed by, uh, with insurance and things like that. They use it as one of the
It's a
diagnostic
diagnostic
hours.
tool more than
Yes.
anything
Uh-huh.
else.
Yes. Yes.
Hmm. It's interesting because I work with children and children is also like the word talk isn't really like we believe that
Right.
children aren't logical, right? And that's why
Right.
the play is so important.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, just to answer your question, for example, art therapy. This is straight out of art therapy. And art therapy is very good for children. And you
Hmm.
might say, draw a picture of your family, or draw a picture of your house, or draw a picture of your tree. If you draw a spindly little tree that doesn't have any leaves, or there's a problem there. But if you draw a big, strong tree with a big, strong trunk and lots of green leaves, then there's probably a lot of, good stuff happening. Does that? So art therapy is a fabulous tool for children. And it is art therapy a little bit.
There's, the experience that I have is that there seems to be something so true about this, so real about it.
Thank you.
Because you're touching on, I guess, transpersonal concepts or innate concepts of the world.
Into innate, it's biological, it's innate, and you can't trick it. Jung
Yeah.
said the psyche will not tolerate self-deception. You'd be tricking your own self. You could not trick it.
But I guess I wonder at the
Why
same
do you
time,
pick one symbol over another?
yeah, and who identified which symbol and colors mean what? Because that in and of itself, we're saying,
It's
is innate
right.
and
That's
not.
true.
Mhm.
That's true. Because Joan Kellogg did 30 years of research cross-culturally. She literally studied so many cultures. I didn't do it. It came to me, the symbols, she had all the symbols there when I got it, and I would never change them. But she just did the research on, people in another country. What how do they represent a new beginning?
Mhm.
You know, and they're universal. There's a universal understandings of symbols and colors. Now, I can tell you that even art therapy degree programs, they disagree. Some of them disagree with that. They're like, no, color is what the person says color is. Maybe, maybe not, but there's also universals. So it which I why not use that first?
Mhm.
If they say, well, no, I didn't heal, I just always hated that color. My mother made me wear green all day, then okay, then take that universal away and go with what they said. But 98% of the time, it's a correct association.
Wow. Okay. Well, folks, there you have it. That's the process of using the Mari instrument. It's sort of an introduction to a whole new world of I was going to say thinking, but it's not even really thinking, right? It's a whole new world of symbolism and way of being and way of tapping into something much deeper than what the eye meets. So I want to thank Shelley Takei for presenting this tonight, opening up our minds and giving us some exposure to this fascinating and fabulous concept. Thank you for joining us tonight.
I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to present.
It's our honor. Our honor. Okay. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Bye-bye.